Basically, this is Cloud37. Cloud37 is really just like an all-in-one tool for builders. And it's just a mix of a bunch of really important things. How's it going, Saga? Or Saga, sorry. If we look at it here, we basically have a document library where you can store all your documents, a business chat, agent creator, integrations. You can set up your company, and you can set up your API too at the same time. So the agent that I'm going to build today is I'm transferring my scriptwriter 5000, which is the name for it, to Cloud37. So I'm going to be making an agent that writes scripts, and you guys will be able to see the prompt and everything for it. It's pretty significant. I've been working on it for quite a bit, but we're going to enhance it because I've backed up and transcribed about 500 of my scripts that we could use, which is pretty good. We need like hardcore background music for me explaining this. Maybe if you're watching the replay, I've probably already added it post-edit. But yeah, we're basically just going to create an agent on our side. So yeah, like I said, the library, it typically links to it's all your documents. So you can upload any kind of document. You can upload a file, you can create an article, you can add websites, etc. It's pretty good overall. And it uses this as examples to pull in for my writing style. Then this is where we're going to interact with the actual agent itself. And then the agent AI films, what's going on? But yeah, I think let's just jump into it. So I have this prompt formula that I use, and it's a pretty funny formula for the actual, like, what the name is for it. I didn't pick the acronym. It's not like I started with the acronym, but it's called TLAME. So TLAME, which is it's kind of funny, right? So and how that breaks up is just basically into task, logic and background. So that's L, analyze, modify, and then examples. No, feel free, keep chatting. It just helps in the end. So I already have most of the prompt already done, but we'll kind of go over it. So this is map prompting kind of 101 for the beginning of this. So the very first thing we're going to start with, and this is using Meltdown, so it's basically using a form of markup. I know everybody's doing JSON prompting right now, which I wouldn't recommend with a large language model. It's kind of weird how everybody it works well for VO3, but yeah. So task is very simple. You're an expert TikTok scriptwriter. I've attached examples in this prompt showing my script style and structure. You need to rate the script like my style and structure. It's just really being redundant at this point, to basically be like, hey, you know, I've attached examples, make sure you use them. Next one, we go into logic and background. I'm doing JSON since ages. I find JSON works really well for media creation, like for images, for videos, but not so much with large language models. So one of the big people in OpenAI who's basically in charge of this went on a rant on X saying like, oh, you know, we've tested JSON and it's actually not the best format to do prompting, which is interesting. We're gonna have to slightly change this. So for logic and background, this is just providing the background for it. So I have 4 main styles of video, but of course we'll also test new different types of content. I typically add information about the video or AI tool in the prompt. It'll either be content I selected from a website, PDF, a paper. I'm going to put deep research because I've been using deep research a lot lately to actually feed this, or a transcript from a video. This is meant to inform you details on the tool that you don't know. See, in the Claude project, in the library. So I have to change the reference because instead of Claude project, we use an actual library for it. What's up, Mr. Boom? So I have about 500 scripts that I can upload for it. We're going to probably upload a pretty significant amount. So this is one of the important parts. So typically, oh, bam, Mike. Appreciate the hat and the rose. Yeah, it's been a while. Sorry, I've been busy and I have a baby coming really soon. I want to do more live streams, so I'm going to do, it'll be a mix. I have some live streams with vibe coding. Tell me your pros and cons for the Perplexity browser. I've been using it for weeks. I'd say the cons are agents still aren't the best. Perplexity is pretty good, but I wouldn't say there's a downside. You don't always want to use an agentic browser. That's one of the things for it. I've been using Fellow AI for a while, for weeks, and I like it for when it's doing stuff like I need to set up a GitHub repository. I appreciate it, Mike. Do these generator things. Those are super funny. Yeah, definitely. First, we got to stay on subject. I'm just basically recreating my scriptwriter 5000. So I use this to help me make the actual script itself. And I have a pretty cool workflow for it. Like, my scripts are quite easy. It knows my style better than I do. And of course I add my own spice. But this does majority of the work mixed with deep research. So yeah, it's in the library. I've attached a lot of different scripts. Don't use them for information on the tool, because what happens is, like, for example, if you're writing a script on Midjourney, Reg typically works almost like a Wikipedia. Think of it kind of like that, where it's not actually extracting the style and tone. Everyone thinks like, oh, I gave it all my scripts and now it knows exactly like me. No, it's not the case. It'll actually mess it up, because if I do a video for Midjourney V7, but it has all of my other Midjourney scripts in there, what happens is it starts to pull in information and old features from other releases into the actual prompt. So it's not looking at it for style and tone. It's basically looking at it for supplemental information that it doesn't have. So what happens is it'll start building in all these features like, oh, it has this character reference that it doesn't have, that it may have had at a previous time. Can you name image generators that can do 4K? Yeah, I'd use Krea. Krea is really good for that. Leonardo has a new one. They just dropped in their Discord that they have a new model coming soon, which is pretty good. And then, yeah, you could also upscale. Upscaling is a good way to do it. I actually have a video launching today that has all of that stuff built into it. It's like a full image workflow, but you'll see. It's called ClipZap. They're an example of my style and script structure. Understand the structure and how I write scripts. I want you to understand. So there's a lot of redundance in this just because it didn't do it. And then I go into details about the caption. For the caption, I want them to be SEO friendly. One of the things with captions is Krea is awesome. Krea 1? That's a good generator. How dare you? But yeah, for captions, you want to have it SEO. So that's that part of it. So we're still working on the logic and background. And then I basically break down. So the next part of logic is just breaking down my styles of videos. So I have my AI, basically, I'd follow and report. You know, as you guys should know, I have a bunch of different styles of videos. There's also, what am I talking about? I'm just building an AI agent that rates my scripts for me. It's already working, and it's working on Claude, but I'm importing it into the system that my team built. So I have an AI agency, and we build like custom SaaS, etc. We're releasing our own tool that's meant for businesses and builders that makes everything a million times better for it. And I'll go over like the downsides of why we had to build this and what we learned. But we've built everything from SaaSes that generate millions of dollars for our clients, to simple chatbots, to LangChain, you name it, we've done it all. And we basically have created this one system. Think of it as like ChatGPT for your business. Yeah, I'll do it after. I just have to make sure we stay on track for this. But will definitely SaaSAP.pro. So yes, this part of it, we're just basically styles of videos. We have my AI tool reviews, my React, where I eat popcorn, listicles, which is like, here's the top 5 4K AI image generators. I have a bunch of listicles coming, and then thought leadership. There's other ones I do too, which is stuff like guides, for example. We're not going to define those, and then basically with the goal. So this is all under the logic and background for the markdown. You can see it's slightly, this is markdown in the background. It shows up as normal text, like you're actually doing a document. We're using Milkdown for it, which is the best. And then basically styles of videos, we go into the goal. The next one we want to do is for the T-lame. So we got TLA. And I had to make a prompt that would extract a Claude style. Claude styles are very good, but there's no way to really use them in the API or outside of the actual platform itself. And the downside is, Claude usage gets zapped every couple weeks. It seems like you get less and less usage for it. So I had a prompt that automatically went in and basically basically creates its own Claude style. It looks at the content and it breaks it into stuff like sentence structure, tone, vocabulary, paragraph optimization, audience approach. It goes through and you're basically meta prompting for it. And that's honestly the best way to create prompts is via meta prompting, where with this whole T-lame structure, I always start with what the output is first. That seems to be one of the keys for it, is just starting with what you want. Everybody tries to build it the other way, where it's like, okay, I'm going to slowly evolve it to what I want. Honestly, a bunch of human examples is going to be the best. What about agents? What's your thoughts on them? Plus the best agents as well. Sorry if I'm on. No, you're on topic for this one. So there's different levels of agent. Take a little bit of nectar before explaining it. So yeah, there's different types of agents. This is what I'm creating is almost like a GPT agent, but then I could hook it up to stuff like N8N workflows. And yeah, and then there's autonomous agents where they make decisions, and they're just autonomous agents aren't that good overall yet. They're not ready for production. So a lot of the times when you're building an agent, you're basically here. I'll get some visuals up here too, because I'm a bit obsessed with stuff like Miro. So, but yeah, typically what you're doing with agents is you're almost giving them somewhat of a static path. So let me I'll get the crayons out for this one. Okay, let's put Miro back here. So yeah, typically with agents, there's different levels. Like there's an agent where it's just basically a prompt. If this is as simple as like a GPT is technically an agent. And then you have ones that are a bit more on top of it, where I call it like a linear agent, where it's basically doing a prompt, and then maybe what it's doing is like APIing to a tool, for example. Like let's say you have an API into your CRM or into a system, or it does some kind of step, and then from there it basically goes to output, which is a bit more complicated. This is more of like a linear static agent where you're defining every step for it. It's still considered an agent, but okay, so I want an agent that could do all my eBay listings. An example of that would be you could have it do like either a simple agent as like a prompt, or a more complicated agent, which would use something like N8N on top of the prompt. Like let's say, for example, you want it, you give it some kind of a tool like an eBay API that can go and scrape all the listings that you want to compare to. And then it basically mixes your prompt with that tool used together to create an output. And then you have the autonomous agent, which we'll call it the Auto Agent 5000, where something like this is you have an agent, and then it basically gets a bunch of different tools. So let's just do it like this. And you're letting it make decisions. So you're not giving an exact path. You're like, okay, you could either use this tool, or you could use this tool, or you could use this tool to get to whatever kind of goal you want for it. So it's one of those things where, like, let's say, for example, you have a certain request. You let it figure out all the logic on top of everything, and you're just providing it a tool set. They're not always the best. Like, for production, autonomous agents can really mess up and get themselves kind of in a snowball the wrong way, where it's making all the decisions. And the tools that you may add to it is something like a web scraper. You may add something like, for example, like a CRM API. Another tool example would be like Lovable MCP that can make a website. And then you just tell the agent one basic thing. So you tell the agent, for example, like, hey, I need to create a website about about Nike. And then it would use it to be like, okay, I need to use it, do this. And it would start to make a plan and everything. And then it's like, first, what I'll do is use my web scraper tool to, get all the information about Nike. Next, I'll use my CRM tool to go in and find information in the CRM that will help me build it. Then I'll use the Lovable tool or the Lovable MCP to actually build the website. Versus, the previous agents where you have a very specific task for it. Let's say, eBay listing is a perfect example for it, where, you could have a simple prompt where you're like, I'm going to paste in, what it is. You figure it out. You give me the output. I need a description. Here's some other good descriptions. And then, like I said, you have level 2, where it'd be like, you give it a prompt like, hey, I need to make a listing for this mug. It'd take the API. Then from there, you have the next step. Scrape the eBay API for other mug listings that have sold. And then from there, you're basically doing the output. So you're chaining it in a very linear path. So like it's one step to the next step to the next step, and it stops it from messing up. And then you have the auto agent, which the auto agent is like, I have all these tools. I'm going to figure out how to get there. But the auto agent can sometimes mess up, where let's say it skips the web scraper, doesn't find out any information about Nike, and just starts making stuff up, hallucinating and going over here. You haven't, Cocos, you haven't missed too much. But I'll also be uploading a replay of this too at the same time. So we're just making agents today. Right now, I'm just breaking down the different types of agents. And there's good auto agents. Like OpenAI has an agent. There's also what I like to call like action agents, where it'll do stuff like use your web browser to click around, and it'll actually perform actions. So this is more of like an agent that's using tools in the background. It doesn't have a web browser. It's not browsing around. It's not clicking. You could always give an agent like this one of those tools. So you could give it something like ChatGPT agent, which lets it do actions. For example, and it's like, okay, you now have this, and you're explaining to it. I put them on YouTube's, so if you want to see it for the replay, it's going to be all uploaded for it. So yeah, that basically on the auto agent, you can put like an action agent inside of it. You may have other tools too at the same time. There's lots of tools that you could build into this, which would be even something like a vector store, or like let's just call it a library for the sake of ease, because that's what we have on our side, where the library becomes really good for the agent. Let's say, for example, we're making that website. So you tell the agent we're making a website, and you have a library of all the information about your actual company. So it can pull from the actual library itself into this. So instead of like trying to use a web scraper to find out information about mattsaccounting.com, and it's like trying to use the web and getting blocked and not finding relevant, or it found some other Matt's accounting, and then it's pulling all that in and hallucinating, where you could actually give it a library. And that's one of the things we did with our platform, is we gave it a library, so you're able to have one unified library where you could build multiple agents from it. And I'll draw that out in a little bit, But let's quickly just create the agent, and then I'll show you guys some demos of it. We'll make a live script for it. The next one that I do, so like I said, we're going with the TLAME framework. So the TLAME is basically how we do the prompting inside of our platform, and typically how we're building prompts in general. So TLAME is task, logic, background, analyze, modify, and then examples. So TLAME, TLAME. It's memorable, at least. It's a horrible acronym. And then from the library, what happens is it pulls examples in. So let's quickly kind of go over exactly how I think about this. So the task is really just assigning it an avatar. Like, you're the world's greatest script writer that's ever existed. And then you have logic and background. And this is just when the task requires that logic and background. So requires logic and background is stuff for like support tickets, SOPs, task managers. It doesn't require it. I have scriptwriter, but it does still require it. And the logic that I've built into it is basically like telling it what kind of videos that I create. So you can see the logic and background. I'm breaking down how my scripts work, what I'm doing, like how I do AI tool reviews, React, listicle, thought leadership, others really just to keep it open. And then I provide a goal for it. Then moving on to the next one, analyze. This is where you're typically giving it the instructions on how to write, a lot of people try to put this like just in the examples, etc. I like to actually break this down. Like, so we have style, tone, structure, framework, and dictionary. Dictionary is like common words. So for example, how I say bam in my videos, like bam, we just we just basically we just created this demo, bam. It understands where to place those. Then we have modify, which is your do's and don'ts, and there's always a lot of these, and that's just beating the nuance out of the actual LLM, where it's like, don't use too many emojis, don't be polite, don't do this, don't do that, and you have to get really redundant with it. And then, of course, providing examples at the end, which I honestly recommend embedding directly, some of them, kind of like 5 directly into the prompt itself. So, yeah. We basically build this, and these sections, it's made in a modular way so they can grow over time. So you're basically growing. So it starts small with amount of logic and background information, but you're growing these out over time and creating them in a modular way where it's going to get you the actual best results for it. So the next one, we have our do's and don't, we have our modify. And if we look at modify, it's just, it's like, do's start every video except listicles with all right. So I'm always like, all right. And no, GPT-5 next week. Yeah, step by step from the beginning would help. So that's why we're doing the recording of this. So yeah, basically we've defined our task. Let me just capitalize this. Task, logic, and background, our analyze, our modify, and then we have our script examples. So, and we'll be putting some in the library as well too. I actually have a lot of new script examples. So here's a script example. All right, this free AI avatar tool is incredible and you could use it right now. Honey Avatar is a new open source AI from Tencent that turns any image into a talking animated avatar. Cocos, appreciate it. So yeah, this is the basics to just creating like the prompt style agent that we're talking about. So it's just an agent like this. After this agent is done, we could hook it up to an N8N workflow. So I typically call these script writer 5000. We could also give it access to the library. Any good free agents for coding? Yeah, there's tons. I think a lot of them have complete free usage for it. But yeah, we basically just created the prompt in general. What I'm going to do is save it. Saving. Okay. I have to get the library examples ready for it too at the same time. I'm just going to put this here. And then we are going to WinRAR Formatted docs. Yes to all. All right, we got ourselves a lot of formatted docs for this. So we've created the scriptwriter 5000. Now we can start to access it. Typically how I rate my script, and we could just do one right offhand. I don't have access to all of my LLMs from this profile, but what's a good one that we can do? This one's pretty good. Close. So Notebook LM just released a new video overview, which is crazy. Are there any free web scraping AI tools? That's a good question. I think there's lots of, if you're willing to custom code these tools or like have AI code them, you can get definite free web scraping for it. So yeah, basically we have a bunch of information about Notebook LM. What I'm going to do is go to Cloud, and I just want to make sure it has web search. I need all the information about Notebook LM video overview that just released. Yeah, Mr. Boom, I saw your comment on my Facebook, which randomly got restricted. I don't have access to it yet, which is weird. I have the full pro plan because I pay Google a ton of money. But so this is how I typically will write my script. So, and normally I do deep research for this, but we don't need to do deep research. Let's just see how we I kind of need a bit more. Break out as much information about it as possible. Use full context. Don't fail me. Okay, so going back to this, now I have access to my scriptwriter. So in our system, what we do is we have access to basically whatever model we want to put into it. Right now, we just have 4 models to choose from. And honestly, it's best that way. You really don't need more than Anthropic and OpenAI for it. When I do script writing, I typically do it with Claude. Claude's a significantly better writer. There's no question at all. I also have the option where I could have done a whole research report on it, which will create a ton of context. Okay, here we go. Heck yeah, Claude. Give me all the information about it. Oh, headset randomly turns off. You can still hear me, though. Okay, so it's outputting all the information. I typically have AI do the research. Claude isn't the best. All the research that AI does is it can really vary. Perplexity is probably the most accurate, but I've tested all of them from ChatGPT to Grok to Gemini, etc. I think Perplexity is probably the best one for accuracy, but X or Grok is the best one for real-time information. And a lot of the news that I get is significantly really real time, so I'll use Grok for it. It's a shame Grok 4 doesn't have deep research anymore. Grok 3 does, and it basically gets the live Twitter. You can get examples from it, etc. So we have all the information about Notebook LM video overview, and then with this agent I don't need to retype the prompt anymore. I could just basically be like, write 60-second TikTok script on Notebook LM video overview. Paste all the info. So then what I did is I just pasted all the information in that I just got from Claude, and get ready for it. Matt Farmer style script. And we can make this even better. So we're going to be adding examples to the library, which will increase its accuracy because it's going to be able to pull from them directly. And then, you know, after we do all this, we did a full API connection with Cloud37. You can actually build full N8N workflows. Let's say if I wanted to fully faceless automate myself, I could then have it send the script to an audio generator like ElevenLabs, and then have it send that audio file to something like HeyGen with an avatar and create the avatar. Like you could pretty much do anything. Always the first step is to basically you have to make sure the foundation's good before you start building out all of these prompts. You want to make sure that this prompt is good and that you've actually tested what the output is for it. So, all right, Google just dropped something insane for Notebook LM, and it's going to change how you study forever. Notebook LM video overviews just launched, and it turned your messy notes and PDFs into professionally narrated slideshows automatically. This isn't just another AI tool. I can't even read. It creates actual visual presentations with diagrams, charts, and a natural sounding female narrator that doesn't sound robotic at all. So let me show you how this works. You upload your documents, PDFs, or images to Notebook LM, then hit video overview in the studio panel. Bam! See, it knows where to place the BAMs. Bam! And that's how I know it's successful and it's actually writing like me. If it could strategically place the BAM in the right spot, which doesn't take a lot like that's not a crazy workflow for it, but you can see it pulls in quotes, numbers, and diagrams directly from your content and creates new visuals to explain complex concepts. The customization is crazy. You can tell it I'm a beginner, help me understand this, etc., etc. A good voice for foreign languages. I know a lot of them are. I have trouble testing it because I barely speak English and that's my only language. But what is the best for prompts? The best for prompts is just using a framework like TLame. Honestly, it's the best one that you can use. Task, logic, analyze, modify, examples. I went over it earlier. And like I said, this is going to be uploaded as a recording. And if you're watching the recording, then that's not relevant to you because you already know. But yeah, we can see that from here, it created a good script, you know, and then of course, it also created a good caption too. Like one of the big things with captions is your SEO is technically the first couple words in the video. This is just creator hacks right here. So I gave it all the logic of like what hashtags to choose, which like how to title it. Always start with what you want to have SEO optimized. So if somebody searches Notebook LM video overviews, I want to own that term because it's extremely relevant. And I honestly get about 50% of my views from it. So basically from that, we created ourselves a full agent. And the thing is, what happens with these agents is they don't naturally get better themselves, which is a bit of a misconception in the industry. So the agent is always going to use the same large language model, of course, unless GPT-5 comes out and I select it. But the way to actually make these agents self-improving is really with the library and library examples. So growing this over time will naturally make all your scripts and everything better. So let's say, you know, over time, you're seeing the library examples grow bigger and bigger. You're naturally going to have your agents getting better, which is why we set this system up too at the same time. One of the big things, oh, Darrow, thank you. Darrow, appreciate it regardless. Yeah, so basically, you know, if I were to do a prompt with something else, the system wouldn't get better for it unless I start to upload to the actual library itself. So that's what we'd want to do. So what we can do here is we can start to upload files. I have a whole bunch of formatted files for it, and then I have a lot. Okay, let's see how many. We have 469 total. Okay, let's see. We'll just do this one. I even have GPT 4.1, GPT 4 Turbo. Oh, I broke it. Actually, no, this is quite good because we want to go over exactly how I'm formatting these scripts in general. So if we look at it, what we've done, because I had someone from my team help me because we had so many, You mean that you use FuseShot and increase the number of examples and time? Yeah, it's basically I embed. So I'm embedding into the actual prompt itself. So I have examples that are static, and I could change these out, 5 to 10 examples directly in the prompt. So I'll like 5 shot, 10 shot, 100 shot. It depends what it actually is. And then over time, what I can do is, because of how this agent is set up for it. So if we look at this agent, I can add different categories from the library to it, which will automatically use our Elasticsearch quadrant rag system to pull in examples that are relevant for it. So it's going to find those correlations, bring it in. And over time, what the goal is to have the library expand, where it's going to get better and better and better over time. So that's one of the big things, especially as, like, for example, let's say I'm just putting my winners in. Anything, are you an AI overlay? No. Can AI do this? Didn't think so. So yeah, what you're doing is you're building up your prompt over time. And this is it's not self-improving, but it's an improving system that you're basically feeding it more and more information. And as you get more information in your library and it has more data to pull from and more script examples, the smarter it's going to get for it. So if we look at the formatting that I put my scripts in, it's just a simple markdown. And markdown, you're using, like, I think of a hashtag as like a header. So one hashtag is header 1, 2 hashtags is header 2. And it's really just how important it is to, you're basically giving it importance on it. So, like, of course, a header 1 is the most important thing. Then header 2, header 3, etc. So we can see this is my script for GPT 4.5. I add some tags to it too at the same time, which makes retrieval a bit easier. And then the actual transcription. It's like, all right, OpenAI just dropped GPT 4.5, and it's a massive vibe upgrade to their foundation. Oh yeah, this is when they released 4.5, and they're like, yeah, it's just better to talk to. It was only a vibe upgrade to it. And then at the bottom, I have the caption. So you can see this is a header 2. And I have all of my scripts broken up into those actual files. So, yeah. Let's see. What we're going to do is just upload a file for it. So let's upload that GPT script, that formatted docs, and then it may not support my markdown for it, but we'll find out. Better work, Nikita, if you're watching. Okay, 4.5 review, open. Okay, so you can see we've uploaded the file. And then what we could do is add a tag for the file. So this could be like, for example, I could call it MFAI scripts as a tag. And you'll see it'll just create the actual category. We can also put in like content creation. And this is really just so it could be used across the dev. That's funny. And this is basically meant so it could be used across different agents, because one of the issues with creating all these agents is you create, like, let's say you have a million different prompt agents. Now we're going hard. You have a million of these. The problem, what happens is you end up creating 100 different agents. So let's say if I have 100 different types of agents, and the problem is that they're all running off different like rag or different libraries. And what our system does is unify it. So with the tag, what I can do is basically just directly tag these files, and then specifically use them in agents themselves, if that makes sense. You'll understand the more that I use it. So here's a Claude 4 release. I have another one here. Okay, yeah, we're only able to do one at a time right now. And then I'm going to give it somewhat of a name script just so I know and I can tell, and then I upload it. How do we access your site? Oh, it's I have to just put it in as a standard library for it. It's launching soon. Right now, if you're interested in using it, go to moment37.ai and just book a call with my team. It's a paid platform right now. It's meant for business. So we are starting to onboard people to it. And just book a call. Let's chat. The tool's really just, like I said before, the tool's really made just for, it's for builders and for businesses. And it's really what we've built a ton of stuff, and we notice that there is an absolute ton of throwaway code that we're getting inside all of this. Oh, it's not letting me paste. The heck? This will probably let me paste. Bam. There we go. Okay, add category. We're going to add the categories to it. So you can see here's my script. In this formatting, so with this markdown, you can see we no longer have the hashtags or anything. It just puts it normal there. We can then create the actual document itself. And what I'm doing then is, so you can see the documents in the library now with the actual tags and the article. It's pending right now because it's vectorizing. It won't take long. It'll be in the system in a very short period of time. But going back to the agent that I created, the scriptwriter 5000, then what I need to do is basically add the categories on top of it. So I'm adding the categories for the library that this agent is able to pull from. So now this agent is also able to pull from any of these categories from the actual library itself. We have some advanced settings that you can use, which is stuff like smart retrieval, because not all retrieval is made equally. Smart retrieval just figures out how to do it, but we have the option of like self-query, user ranking, and then something like top K. Top K is really just to select how many documents that it's able to pull at once. So if, for example, let's say if I wanted to pull 100 scripts into the system, I would put this to 100. When you use smart retrieval, though, smart retrieval just automatically assesses how many documents it has to pull into it. So that's one of the, Andre, how's it going? Yeah, that's one of the things that, you know, it's easier and we recommend, where it automatically adjusts the top K depending on what the task is, or if it has enough information to, it'll basically keep checking the library until it feels like it has enough information. For example, let's say you have an agent that's creating website copy and you have hundreds of library files and it's all the information about your products, your services all throughout the library. You'd want a higher top K for that because you don't just want it to search one document or 4 documents. You want it to search quite a bit. The next one we have is knowledge gap detection. And this one is pretty important, and one of the biggest things that LLMs do is they'll make stuff up. Like, for example, if I were to ask the system without knowledge gap, like, hey, can you make me a script about a blue water bottle? It'll make up all the details about it. It'll be like, yeah, it's shotgun proof, it's this, it's that. It'll basically just make everything up. With this, we give the large language model a tool that it can go to. So instead of making up the information, it basically, because like ChatGPT or GPT-4, etc., it has to give you a response regardless. It's like gun to their head. It needs to give you a response. And that's why it hallucinates, because you're forcing it to respond even when it doesn't have enough information. But if you give it a tool, you're at least giving it an action. And that what the tool does is in the back end of the system under company, you can see what kind of gaps are in your knowledge base. Yeah, just coming home. Right now we're reviewing the platform. This is my 9 to 5 AI agency and building out really cool AI stuff. But yeah, so we have for the agent now the agent is going to work better, and we can just put more and more scripts directly into the library. And then, like I said, these library examples can expand and contract, and it makes your output better and better and better over time. So you're really just building up the agent that way. But yeah, we have ourselves a scriptwriter. One of the interesting features too that we have is we have it so you can, let's say So for example, because now we have that library file, what did I say in the script about GPT 4.5? That could be like, look in library. So we have a general chat. This is our business GPT. And this just goes across everything you have in the library. So you can basically talk to your entire knowledge base at the same time. So this is going over all the stuff that I said in the actual script for it. It's pulling directly from the library. It's able to get that. But one of the cool things that we could do is after you do that, you could just literally go over to a new agent. So I could click on scriptwriter, for example. And I could even change models. And all of this will be in the actual context itself. So I could be like, I want a new script about GPT 4.5. Something a bit more crazy. Now it's using my scriptwriter that we just created to do that. So like, let's say, for example, what happens is you're typically making all of these agents and you somewhat want to link them together. So if we're going here, like, for example, let's say if I have my scriptwriter, there's a lot of times when you want to just keep pushing it to more agents. Let's say from then we want the Facebook repurposer agent, for example. And then from there, we can do like a LinkedIn repurposer agent. And with that, I'm just able to select all the different agents that you're able to do it kind of step by step, changing the agents on the go. So you could do like write the script and then repurpose it for Facebook and then repurpose it for LinkedIn, repurpose it for basically anything that you want on that side. So it's like you could keep going agent to agent, and all that's required is you just select different agents and you could change the models throughout it. So it just makes it a lot easier. Still got a long way before I could afford that type of luxury. Yeah, it's shorter than you think. So you can see here it rewrote another script. All right, GPT 4.5 just broke the internet, and I think OpenAI might accidentally created something too powerful. This isn't just another language model. GPT 4.5 is reading emotions, understanding vibes, and honestly, it's getting scary good at being human. So, you know, I just created a brand new script. I pulled information from the library. I created a script from it. As I build up these agents, I could be like, all right, now make this into an X post, now make this into a LinkedIn post, now make this into whatever kind of post that I actually want to do from it. So there's unlimited capabilities. Or let's say, for example, you wanted to build like an N8N workflow with the scriptwriter. Like I said, let's say if the scriptwriter, you then want to basically send it to N8N. So we'll give this one a different shape. So square, we'll do a rounded one and we'll make it this beautiful color. Let's say it goes to N8N. You could have it so the API goes to N8N, and then from there it would connect to the ElevenLabs MCP to generate an actual voice for it. And then after it's generated the voice, you could have it hook up to something like HeyGen MCP and create the actual avatar. And this would be all through the N8N, but you could have this running right here via API from our system, if that makes sense. So HeyGen, and then let's say, for example, like there's a bunch of Descript just put released Underlord. Let's say you wanted it to also be edited too at the same time and add captions and everything else. Like then you can hook this actual base agent up to any kind of flow that you want for it. You know, for example, or what you can do is, because this is one of the key things, is let's say you have N8N. You could have N8N use the scriptwriter as a tool on top of it. I don't know what I clicked there. And then, for example, you could always have something like a scraper that finds the most viewed video you are doing a video on. Too small. So then you could also hook it to a scraper like that, and then have it basically output. Let's give output a different color too. And then you could have it do the output itself. So you could also hook these agents up to N8N workflows, and then any kind of changes you do to the library or to the agent will automatically propagate through on that side. And we'll jump into that in a different live stream, but of like, hey, how do you hook this up to N8N? Because we do have a full API connection. So, and I'm doing this on a new account, not our business account, but you could basically set up a full API for it, give it any kind of access that you want to the actual system, and then use that to run your N8N workflows. And the advantage for that, let's keep the crayons going. Okay, so because you basically have your large language model, so let's just say GPT 4.1, it's a random one to pick, and then you have, you know what, we're going to give this one a different color. We'll call it orange, and then my platform gets purple. And then you have Cloud37, which is the actual knowledge base for it. So you have the knowledge base, and then what can happen is you're basically giving the AI access to your knowledge base, or you could also give it access to, at the same time, to all of your actual agents. So you can give your AI access to all the information. And the best part about this is you can actually change the knowledge base via chat. So, you know, if I was like, I don't want to screw up my script because it's not done embedding yet, but I could basically ask it like, hey, can you update this? And it's for this thing that we call, one of the things you realize when you start to make automations for business is it's never a one-time thing, because business information is always changing. And I call it Black Friday syndrome. Black Friday syndrome is your knowledge base may be great and everything. And let's say you've created all these amazing prompt agents that's able to do outputs. But the problem is, what happens when you have when Black Friday comes around and you have a Black Friday sale? What happens is all of these agents that you've created are now out of date. And then what happens is Cyber Monday hits and they're all out of date again. And you have to go through and you're like, all right, let's update the knowledge for this one. Let's update the knowledge for this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. You know, it pretty much, you know, you're updating each bit of knowledge individually for it, versus when you have a library that it's hooked to, it's only one source of information. You just have to change the knowledge base. And what happens is, so let me pull this over here. Instead of, you know, having to update these individually, they all run off the actual knowledge base itself. So this is going to become a horrible image very soon. We definitely made too many prompt boxes. So versus when you have all of your agent, and I think prompt is a bad way to put it. Let's just call it agent, 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 agent. There we go. So instead of doing it where you're updating each one individually, because it gets out of hand really fast, like you have like for example, you have a support agent, you have like a organic content agent, there's millions of different agents that you could create, an email agent. You have all these different agents where you run it off one source of information. So you just have to update the library and everything naturally updates from it, instead of being like, okay, we just, you know, Black Friday's here, let's update this agent individually, and this one individually, and this one. What is it? Casper, this is, I'm just going over, we created a platform, my company Moment37, we created Cloud37, and it's basically, yeah, this sounds way more possible than MCPs. It's honestly, in my opinion, the best way to do it. We've been building a ton of different business solutions, SaaS, everything, and we found all the problems that exist. Like, we built custom coded workflows, and the problem is with that, each workflow or each agent, I hate the name for it, runs off different information. Cost of it, it depends what solution you're looking for. I would go to moment37.ai. Just book a call with us, and I'd love to show you an actual demo of it and how it works. It's really just meant for builders and businesses, people who are building stuff for business or actual businesses in general. And it's an all-in-one platform. So now all of the agents that you create run off one database. And that's not just, there's also additional stuff that you can do where we have it so you could actually have these agents input information back into the knowledge base. So let's say, for example, you have an email agent. It creates a good email and you want to continue training your library on it. You can have a feedback loop that sends that back into the knowledge base, which gets smarter and smarter over time. We've also developed human in the loop technology where, for example, let's say, because full automation is a bad idea, especially from the beginning, where what we can do is have it so before it actually sends the email, what it's doing is it may send you a Slack message. It puts human in the loop being like, hey, is this okay? You know, let's say you'll just get like a chat message where it'll be like, you know, are you good with sending this email? And you say approve or disapprove. So let's just do it right here where you have two options, approve, and then it sends, and then disapprove, where you could give it instructions, disapprove. So if you disapprove it, what happens is it'll loop back to the email agent with your instructions. So with human in the loop, and this one's key for creating any kind of feedback loop. I'd never recommend that you have an automation that doesn't start with at least human in the loop before you turn it on automated mode. Once it's approved, the action gets done and it goes back to the library, training it to get better. Yeah, we've tried. So we've used N8N, we've custom installed it, we've done everything. This is the hundreds of thousands of dollars of lessons that we've learned from it. We built a system that's a lot better. Like, it takes care of all of these problems for it. So yeah, like I said, let's say, for example, you have this email agent. It's pulling from the knowledge base. So if you change the knowledge base or the agent itself, like the agent prompt, it gets better. Let's say with your services, whether you have a sale or something going on, it then sends you a message on Slack or anywhere that you want, and you can choose to approve it, which will automatically send the email and then send it back to the knowledge base, or disapprove, and it'll be like, why? Can it do OCR? OCR doesn't, we don't have OCR yet, but you can build OCR into the N8N workflow. We've built workflows that actually fill up the knowledge base. So for example, let's say we have our knowledge base right here, and there's honestly, I don't think people leverage this enough, where we'll have an N8N workflow where what it does is let me put a square in here. We'll do something to build the actual knowledge base itself. Like, we'll add a scraper for Facebook ads. And it'll scrape all, so you give it a list of your competitors, etc. It'll scrape all the Facebook ads and basically fill your library. And then when you make your actual agent, you just have to connect it. Hi, Matt. Have you also YouTube videos or lessons of everything in AI? No, but I'm going to be going more in that direction where it's more, because I enjoy teaching. This is what I'm typically doing, like consulting and teaching and everything else. It's and all these lives get uploaded there too at the same time. So yeah, you also have the option to use automations to build up your knowledge base, because of course you don't always just want to go into your library and be like, add a document, add another document. You could actually, with the API, populate your knowledge base, and then from your knowledge base you can start to build agents like for example, Facebook ad generator. And then that Facebook ad generator, once you start creating good ads, that will fill it up too at the same time. Matt, this seems awesome for businesses. Have you tried Warmwind yet for individuals? Yeah, I've worked with Warmwind. It's crazy. No, this is I use Miro. Miro's super expensive though. I don't know how much I actually suggest it. Sorry, Miro, but the amount of money we spend with you for just drawing simple stuff like this is ridiculous. Oh, I gotta get more of that nectarine. AiCloud. Well, we may be using ClickUp has like a Miro in it as well too. We use ClickUp because everybody uses ClickUp, and I've worked with ClickUp, or I've worked with Miro a lot. Yeah, Obsidian's a good one to do it. We're migrating from Notion and Asana to more and Miro to like more of a ClickUp setup. So instead of like Obsidian Note, ClickUp is pretty good for it overall. It can replace all of it, and it has an MCP. So basically, we're able to hook it up to some of these agents. And for example, like let's say if you wanted to make a task agent, we could use ClickUp as a tool that based on a call, it could automatically assign notes and everything else and keep track of what you're actually doing for it. So that's why we're pushing towards ClickUp. That it has a full MCP. It's a lot better overall, etc. But yeah, when you're looking at the library, we wanted automated ways to build the library, because one thing that clients don't do really well, and I don't blame them, nobody does it well, including myself, is building that original knowledge base. So there is ways to basically automate that with something like N8N, and then you're using the API at this point. So you're basically APIing to the knowledge base, and then you're building that knowledge base, and then you could build agents from that. Oh, that sounds like a pretty good setup. So Obsidian plugin, AiCloud, local GPT, Olama, it's mad powerful. I'm just not the biggest fan of local large language models. I just feel like the quantized versions don't work that good. I'd rather pay the pennies to use like an API. And I'm just not too romantic with my data in general. Of course, like with cloud, we have it full enterprise and encryption and everything else that you need for it. But when it comes to like my personal side of things, then I like to use a full like state-of-the-art model for it. And then eventually I'll basically do less of a model. But I always start out with state-of-the-art. And it's same with like these agents that I built, for example. I'm for writing a script, I'm going to use Claude Sonnet. It's the most expensive one, but it's the best one. Yeah, that's where we struggle, especially in finance. We want to train our own model. Yeah, that's one of the key things is keeping it private, or even not even training your own model, because training your own model takes a lot. But our system also, like, we can put in, let's say if you wanted to self-host your own large language model, like one of those local models, we have it so we can hook up to those. For example, like we're going to be working, or we're going towards a government contract right now. So it's a very large contract, but of course the government likely isn't going to want to send data to OpenAI or to Claude Sonnet. In that case, you could just basically set up your own, like a local. Of course, it's running on a server. I'm not going to have it, although I'd love to have it in my office. I'm not going to have it in my office running, but you could just basically self-host your own large language model. So you have all those privacy concerns gone. Of course, it's not going to perform as well, and you will need to work on your prompts a bit better for it. But you do have that option. We don't have it so a user can do it, but one of the best parts about creating your own platform is you kind of can do anything on that side. So, if it's, and we're looking into stuff like HIPAA compliance and everything, all the tools that we use are technically HIPAA compliant, which is a big factor for it. But, we have the ability to where, let's say, for example, we did a cloud LLM that we're hosting, something like, we have the Llama 5 comes out and it's absolutely crazy. We could spin up a server, we could host Llama 5 on it, and then attach it to the system. And then you don't have to worry about privacy. Of course, there's vectoring technologies and everything that we're using on top of this, but they're all extremely secure. And it's a lot more secure having a library like this than just being like having Tammy from accounting uploading your financials directly into Claude, being like, here's our financials, how are we doing? Because it's training off that information, which is the worst thing you can do. One of the other big advantages to this platform is you can add users to it. So we have unlimited user support. And one of the biggest things with companies is we notice like they'll have like 17 Claude logins where people are sharing projects and stuff, where you can have your entire company running from the same library. So instead of, for example, creating all these GPTs and like one-off things, you could have your marketing department, your sales department, your executives, everybody basically running off all the same data, because it's amazing. Like ChatGPT has its own personal memory, but it's not across organization. So if we like, if I were to get randomly select people from my company and be like, hey, in ChatGPT, ask about Cloud37, they're all going to get different answers. It's not unified for it. So that's another big thing that we had to solve for, where it's like companies need to be able to share the same data, and there needs to be data control in it too at the same time. AI Ops Infra as a Service, pretty much. And yeah, one of the things too is we see a lot of people that try to do something like they'll build a knowledge base, and one of the big downsides and why I don't think the big companies will be able to solve for it is like, how do we compare to something like Google? And no offense, Google, I love you guys. The problem with Google is they're creating all these tools that are searching stuff like Google Drive, your Gmail, etc. on that end. So you have this knowledge base in your Google Drive. And if I were to pull up my Google Drive, the problem is I have thousands of documents, and a lot of them aren't relevant anymore from years and years ago. So Google's trying to create these knowledge bases and understand it. It's just extremely token expensive. So think of it this way. What happens is if Google uses and searches your entire drive, think of how many files that is. It's using like 50 million tokens just to provide context. So it's very token inefficient. It's using 50 million tokens. It's checking your Gmail, it's checking Drive. And the problem is, if the answer is wrong, what are you going to do? Are you going to delete files from your Gmail or your Google Drive because it gave you a wrong answer and it pulled the wrong document? So are you going to actually delete files from these? Because all these large companies, it's too much data. You need to have curated data for AI. You can't just expect a data dump for it. Even if you can in the future, you're really going to be fighting efficiency. So for all these agents that you make, if our agent takes, for example, only 30,000 tokens to basically, so if answer is wrong, change library. So you're getting a lot more efficient because you're building your own knowledge base, basically, of just curated information that you actually need, the most important information. None of this RTL stuff where you're like, I'm going to dump in everything. Good luck. You're making a smaller database. It's very efficient. 30,000 tokens to retrieve versus 50 million tokens. So the cost of that is actually more than what a human labor would be for it. And if the answer is wrong, all you have to do is update the library, or you could talk to it in the actual chat and be like, hey, we don't sell blue water bottles anymore. And it'll go in, the system will go in and update the actual library for you. Versus on the Google side, if you're connected with Drive and Gmail, what do you do if the answer is wrong? Do you go in like, oh, I got to delete all my old emails because it thinks my company is named X Engine, or it thinks it's named something else for it, etc. So it's just a very inefficient way of doing it. And I think that's why they're having lots of trouble with it. Of course, OpenAI and all these other ones, you can connect it to Google Drive, etc. It just takes significantly longer. It's very inefficient. And you basically get screwed when the answer is wrong. Like when you're trying to fine tune all of these different agents that you're creating, your, like, for example, the email agent, support agent, etc. When you're trying to do that and you can't actually change what knowledge it's coming from, it's That's the issue. Okay, let's say small company on digital transformation trying to move to AI first then. So if it's a small company, we have full frameworks for this, and it's part of like when you get Cloud37, we have consulting with it that helps you build like a blueprint for what you want to do. The most important thing is step one is to basically outline what agents you actually need. There's two types of agents. There's vertical and there's horizontal agents. So let me just see. Do I have the example here? I may have it. Or you're just going to see. No. So it's really, I think, like everybody's willing to plan everything, but they're not. Rourke, what's going on? We're in AI lesson mode today. So what you want to do first is basically like if you're a company that's getting into it, and how we do it is you figure out what agents you want to automate. And it really goes between horizontal versus vertical. And I'm sure you're wondering, Matt, what does that even mean? Think of it as this. You have, and I'll try to do a drawing for it. My drawing skills 0 out of 10. So this is horizontal and this is vertical. So a vertical agent is stuff your company does every single day. So for example, if you have a marketing agency, you're creating ads every single day. You're doing this task every day. You're updating a client every single day. That's an example of a vertical agent. A horizontal agent is what, like, it's the stuff everybody wants, which is like, oh, we need an AI caller. And it's like, have you ever called people before? They're like, no, but I need an AI caller. Or we need an avatar. It's really just bolt-on that doesn't affect the business overall. So you want to go through with your business, like, what are the vertical agents that I'm actually already doing every day? How do we do that better, faster for our client? And then the horizontal is really just like, what are the new shiny objects you want to bolt on to it? Caleb, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, so if we look at like vertical versus horizontal agents, you want to build vertical agents in general and plan them out. And then you really want to figure out what you need to put inside your library for your actual business itself. And then from there, you're basically running all the automations for it. So like, for example, like let's say if you're an e-commerce companies have two things that they do realistically from day to day. Is they're either doing support tickets or they're creating ads. So for them, something like a support agent would be one of the most important ones. Or like, we've had a company, they're like, we get 3,000 tickets a day, which is ridiculous. That's a vertical use case. That's the stuff that you should focus on and not trying to figure out something you've never done before. Like, oh, I want an avatar of a dragon that could do, they can do training internally for my team. You just see a bunch of weird stuff like that actually happen. So you really want to figure out what agents you need to build and then the actual library that you need in order to build them. So this could be like a Facebook ad generator, for example. Like, let's say if you're running a marketing agency, your vertical agents are like, a client. So let's say you have a client meeting, an agent that will take that meeting and automatically task out anything from it. Or an agent that goes and looks at the Facebook account every day and sends you a report in Slack. So like, think of that as something that would be useful for an agency. Something that's not so useful would be, just one of those shiny object things, like an AI caller. Like, yeah, they can work in their rocket fuel. A lot of people just use AI to become Spam Master 5000s. But you don't really want to do that. You want to figure out, okay, here's all the agents that I need to make. And this is the knowledge I'm going to need to make them. So like all your company information, because AI doesn't know anything about your company unless you're like Nike, then it knows a bit about your company. But in general, like, it doesn't know anything about even my own company, until I fill up my actual library full of the information about it. And then from there, I can use it to make website copy. I can use it to make SOP. I can use it to make anything in general, but the knowledge base is the most important one. And without it, you're just making all these individual agents that are all trained separately. And then something updates. You're like, you know what? It's time. Let's get a new product. You know, we're going to now sell Terminator mugs, for example. The system doesn't know about it. Do you keep the knowledge base as a doc or spreadsheet? We actually made a full platform for doing that. So we have, you have your business profile, but you basically have a library that you're able to add documents and add information to, or build it up with automations. Like, for example, an N8N automation that scrapes Facebook competitor ads, then it APIs it to the knowledge base, and then you could use that on top of it. We recommend using curated information. You want to define, and we have like a certain hierarchy of information. You have your company mission, vision, tone, style, but then you also have like the most important thing, like your product or services, defining all of that information. You could put all your support tickets in it. You could put all your ads in it. You put basically all the information inside of this library. And then the more information you get, the more bots you unlock. Like, for example, if I just have basic information, there may be some certain agents that I cannot build because you don't have the information for it. And you don't want to build them separately. So you add that information for like all your support tickets, etc. Then next thing you know, you can make a support agent because you have the information required for it. But support agents are a nightmare if you were to just try to manage them in like a doc or spreadsheet. Like, let's say, for example, I made a doc with all the support information. You end up making this massive document. So, green background, great. You have this massive document with all this information in it. The issue is the whole Black Friday, when you start running a sale and you have all these lines in the document. You have to go through this document every time and be like, okay, where did I define my product and services, etc. Versus when you do it in one individual knowledge base, it makes it so much easier because then everything runs from it. So you're basically using your prompt, and this is how I explained RAG before. You have your prompt, and then you have your library for it. So let's say that this is support tickets. You have all the other tickets. You have all the tickets in your library that you've defined that it's basically trained and can learn from, and you're pulling in information from it. So it's like when you do some type of retrieval, it's not always pulling in the full document. Sometimes it's just going to need this information and pull it back to the large language model. Or sometimes it'll be like a scatterfest where, they're like, what's the warranty on my Terminator mug? Like, I threw it at the dog. Guess we can't say that, but it's like it broke, and what's your warranty? So it's going to go through your actual RAG library or your library here and find all the information about it, and then basically send that back. And when you do an update to your library, or like, let's say Black Friday comes, the issue is you have all your product and service information that's no longer relevant for it. Let's say processes, product, and services are defined. Then I pick MOE agents and thinks MCP server. Yeah, I recommend making some base agents for it. So, and I explained it kind of over here of like the N8N. Or, yeah, N8N will be a good example for it. What you can do is basically, and let me just re-arrow this one. You can, in N8N, and we're having this built into the platform soon with LangGraph, where you could call on multiple types of tools, etc. So you can, let's say, for example, my scriptwriter. We have all the information defined. We have the prompt for the actual agent itself. So we go into the scriptwriter. Nikita, it didn't work. No, it works. I just have to click this. So we have the prompt that generates exactly what we want. So let's say we feed that into N8N. We could set up an N8N agent that is then using stuff like MCPs to do different tasks and then eventually get to the output, for example. So let's say I pipe my scriptwriter into N8N. I could then have N8N agent be like, okay, the agent is like, all right, I need to make this into actual visual content for it. So if you were to do that, you can make an N8N agent and give it access to all the tools it needs. ElevenLabs to make the voice, HeyGen MCP to make the avatar, and then Descript Underlord to actually edit the video and then do the output from it. But it's still using the base agent you created because the base is the most important. Your foundation is important. Does not N8N depend on API? Does complaint with IP creation? Explain that again. But yeah, N8N works with APIs, it works with MCPs and everything. Our platform does as well. We have integrations like chatbots, etc., that you could build from it. We find what happens with why we also let it link to N8N is N8N has, I think it's like 8,000 different integrations that we don't want to manually build all of them. So we just make it so our bots could connect to it, and then we get access to the millions of different tools that it has access to. We could basically build on top of it without having to maintain our own API for it. So N8N has access to all of this stuff, and it's really for connectors and then keeping up with it. It's API, it's MCP. You can set up pretty much anything on that side. It basically enables it to connect directly on that side, if that makes sense. Let me know if you need more explanation for that. But you're basically just getting your large language model, what you're giving it access to your knowledge base, you're giving it access to your agents. And then what you can also do at the same time is you can give it access to something like N8N, where you could build different types of workflows for it. Honestly, I think in the future, N8N is dead. I don't think we're going to use N8N in the future because of lots of reasons for it. I think it'll all be somewhat automated, where, for example, if we use LangGraph in our platform, we can tell it where it's like, use @agent to do this, then @agent to do this, and then @agent to do this. And like we'd have different agents for each part of the actual step itself, and you technically don't need a workflow at that point. You're just giving it access to MCP. I think N8N is a layer that will eventually go away. Yeah, so if I got an MCP server, then NB, DB, and agents RIP. Yeah, technically. I think N8N has a cost per API consumption, and if you're creating intellectual property, they have a cost if you want to embed it on your platform. You could download N8N yourself, and you could pretty much do whatever with it. So I've went over all the N8N licensing for it. Like, of course, with our system, you own everything that actually goes into it. You own your data, you own your agents, you own your knowledge, you own pretty much everything from it. I think N8N is the liability for that, where potentially you do have to pay. It's fractions of a penny, and it usually makes sense for business. So let's say, for example, I am, creating Facebook ad copy, or I'm creating like scripts with N8N. It's not really going to cost anything for it. A lot of the cost comes from the actual APIs that, like the ElevenLabs MCP or HeyGen MCP, Descript Underlord MCP. The N8N typically, unless you have it firing like 5,000 times a minute, isn't really going to cost you much overall. It's less than the LLM call, like less than talking to ChatGPT. It's less than generating with ElevenLabs. It's less than pretty much all of these, if that makes sense for it. And well, we went hard on the drawing today. Look at this. I've been in Miro mode lately. I'm sure Jeff understands. He's seen it. It just becomes easier for it. But yeah, we're just using N8N to leverage all the connections. And for some of my next lives, what I'll do is go over some of the workflows that we're building. So here's an example from it. So we could actually have this agent right here. You see in the middle, we can add Cloud37 as a platform that it grabs the data from. So it's able to use Cloud37 to pull in any information it needs. And then you can connect it to Jira or to ElevenLabs or to any of the other stuff that you want to actually connect it to, and pretty much do all the workflows. But it doesn't make sense for us to do something like, create all of these integrations ourselves. They have, I thought it was 8,000. It's only 500. Yeah, they're garbage. N8N's dead. But it's all the major connectors. Programming and maintaining them is an absolute nightmare. So we just leverage it here. So for example, let's say if we want to attach the script writer that I've created to something like Slack, all we do is we just have N8N handle that actual. So it goes from N8N, and then it could go to the interface like Slack or Teams or any interface that you want on that side. It's basically somewhat of an abstraction layer that we can have in between for it. Business AI engines sometimes don't have much budget other than local infra, CPU, memory, GPU, and API. Yeah, but we're talking pennies when it comes to actually doing it. And the thing is, what are we replacing at the end? It's human hours. So if it costs you less to do it via AI than it does via human, like for example, it typically, without my scriptwriter 5000, it will take me hours to make a script. With it, I can get a script that's almost perfect. Of course, I add my own seasoning to it, a Salt Bae on top of it. But 2 hours of my time is worth an unlimited amount in the galactic picture, and it's like that for all the other processes, where if it's saving you, if you have a marketing agency and you have like a Facebook ad generator, and it's saving you the cost of having your team or hiring a copywriter to do it, where you're paying thousands of dollars per month, and you could do it for $1 instead, then who cares about the pennies it takes to run the automation in N8N? Or if you have an entire support team, you have 5 people hired full time, or you've outsourced it, but you're actually answering questions for pennies with AI, or you're doing 90% of questions, you're freeing up their time to do either other tasks or have better delivery. Like, let's say instead of responding in 5 days, you now respond in 10 minutes. Is that going to be a positive effect for your business that's worth every API call and software cost that you've done for it? 100% it is. You just have to make sure that your strategy in general is for like this vertical and horizontal, that you're making agents that are actually useful and either making you money or they're saving you money. Because I don't believe, and everyone's like, oh, you're anti-jobs and blah. Yeah, I kind of am. But I think thinking about it, like, does it really make sense for Jimmy from support to respond to password reset emails for his entire life? It's your AI is just really doing hollow tasks right now. Like tasks where it doesn't make sense to have human in the loop. Like even my script writer, I'm doing research with it, and I'm generating a script that I could make into a better script. It's grabbing stuff that I wouldn't have been able to grab. I could check through it. It's doing a lot of work that I don't have time to do. And what's my other option? It's either create less videos or use a script writer that's going to help me generate a script. And like I said, over time, the whole reason why I use this prompting framework is for T-Lame is you're basically making it better and better. All of it starts out like this, where, your first bot is never going to be perfect from the start. Just never happens. Over time, though, with human in the loop and you giving feedback, you're building out these sections of the prompt and you're making it closer to that 100%. You're getting it to like 99% over time, and your library's been growing over time too. So it's getting better and better. And everyone wants to start with automation when really you have to start with, you start with a very basic, a prompt base, like a framework, and then you're adding on to it at the same time. Totally agree, Matt, on the advantage. But let's talk about boring businesses like dentists and restaurants. You could do it for any of them. You can make, like, for example, for a restaurant, you can make based on knowledge base and automations. You can make something that, let's say, after a reservation, it sends them a personalized response. You could do anything, especially with the N8N hookup for it. but you're figuring out what they're doing every single day. For a dentist, of course, you have to be HIPAA compliant, but a lot of a lot of dentistry isn't chipping away at teeth, but it's doing the paperwork after the fact, you know? Or imagine they have a phone call, etc. It automatically books the appointment, sends them an email, does all these other things in order for it. There's ways that they could definitely benefit from it, or maybe they just need to create more organic content so they can get more clients from it. And you know, they suck at it. They have all these pictures, they put up some horrible description. You could have it so it helps them make organic content, or some kind of email thing where it's like emailing every month, like, you know, this month is tooth decay. Here's 10 tips on this, just to stay top of mind and everything else. And there's also support agents, booking agents that they could do for it. There's unlimited things. You just really have to break it down to those fundamentals. What are they do? Like, this is where all the gold is. What do they do every single day? What are their tasks that they're doing? And then what can they also add on to it that makes sense? Not adding the stupid stuff to it, but the horizontal, where it's like, what are some other cool bolt-on things that will give better customer experience, get them more clients, help them serve their clients? So it's really just like breaking it down like that. If you're niching into something like dentist, you could just create a whole bunch of templates where you have the dentist email 5,000, the dentist support agent 5,000. You could do anything for that. Personally, it's easy to use marketing and advert cases, but for profit generation, kind of miss. You do have to get creative for it, and Nate B. Jones did a good video on it. I watched it yesterday, where if you're creating like your own AI agency, you kind of want two factors to it, where you want to have not only the AI knowledge, like AI is a supplemental thing on top of existing knowledge. Where, like, let's say you've already worked as a marketing agency for dentists, marketing agency, or let's just do restaurants. So, but then also you have AI workflows. It's really just taking what you're existing good at and then creating systems combining both of them together, if that makes sense. Like, you want to, and then after a while, it gets a lot easier. Both ways. It gets a lot easier because then you create templates for it, etc. So if you're looking to do, like, let's say you're doing real estate agents because you've done marketing for them before, you have experience with it, you mix that together with the AI. So you're already a domain expert here, and then you use AI to enable it. You're basically enabling AI. So if you're like, my background is marketing agency. Of course, we went into software development and everything. If I took the easy road, which I should have, but here we are, we decided to develop and spend lots of money over 2 years, 3 years, probably at this point. You know, if you just combine what you're already domain expert with and what you already have clients and relationships for, and then you build the workflows around that, it's a lot easier. Because you already understand how the business fundamentally works, like with marketing, with real estate, etc. Let's say you provided an agency for real estate agents, or you did something for them. You could just basically create that into an AI that's going to do a very similar thing. You template it, and then you sell it across multiple real estate agents for it. Like, niching is easy. It's not easy. It's easier. But already having that domain knowledge, you want the Tai Lopez knowledge, helps a lot for creating it, or else you're doing stuff and you're just creating random workflows for it. You're not doing templates. You're not doing anything like that. Versus, you know, if you have this platform, you can just create another client. You create another dentist. You already know what information you need to put into it. You already have the agents ready to go. They're all set up. You already have some of the automations on N8N set up from it too. You know, you're just like click, click, click. You provide a very good service for it. And that's the way that you want to think about it, in my opinion. You could, of course, generalize. See, on our side, we're more on the developer end. So we made a tool for businesses, for ourselves, and for builders just based off all of the lessons that we have learned from building everything in the AI space. Absolutely everything. We've done it all. We've tried every business model in AI, from AI callers to simple chatbots to N8N to custom coded integrations to complex coded integrations to building out full out SaaS products. And this is 80% of the stuff that we don't want to do every time. And now we can use this as a platform to expedite working with a business, collecting their knowledge, which is a nightmare in itself, creating the actual agents, the workflows, giving them access to it, providing them with a tool, and then providing consulting on top of it of like how to use this and helping their company actually become AI. Like AI first is kind of getting a bad name because this is technically AI first, but companies have to baby step into it. There's a pyramid of like where you are on the AI adoption chart, and nobody's AI first yet. There's no AI first company. They don't exist, but it's getting ready for when that does become a thing, for when agents get a lot better. Because even let's say GPT-5 comes out tomorrow. GPT-5 comes out, it's the greatest thing ever. It's still going to need your actual business knowledge. That business knowledge is going to be maintained. If it doesn't have the knowledge, it's not going to be able to do anything with the actual agent itself. So that's the way that you have to look at it, where it's like this system is set up to, whether GPT-5 comes out, it's still going to need the bucket of knowledge, the knowledge base, and the agents. And then from there, it could do all the other stuff. Tiff, you were passed out. We're just about done the live. Yeah, definitely. Let's have a talk on it. If you guys, I'm going to be ending the stream soon just so the recording doesn't go into, Matt will start going into his old man tangents. If you guys want to contact me or set up a booking or check out the platform, completely free, moment37.ai, book a call. I'll demo the platform for you, answer any kind of questions you have, give you an idea. We've done tons of these integrations, so I could definitely give you some tips on it. And if it makes sense, we'll get you into the platform. If not, yeah. All right, but I think that's pretty much it. What I'm going to do, like I said, is I'll be uploading this entire video. So if you missed a part, do not feel left out. Just watch the replay. It will be on YouTube, which TikTok hates when I say that, and they drop my viewers when I say that. But the replay is going to be up there. Like I said, if you guys want to have a demo of the product, just sign up for a call. No obligation. We also want to get more builders' insights and everything too at the same time, so it really just helps us. Go to moment37.ai, sign up, get your demo, and that's it. We will talk soon. Appreciate everybody joining and the gifts and the hearts and everything else. All right. Back to work I go. I don't know how to end this thing anymore. Let's see. Okay. Awkward moment where we're figuring this out. All right. Look forward to talking to you, Emmanuel. Bye, everybody. Awkward ending. Go.